You know, I remember one day in Washington, D.C., I was at a summer camp and the day was almost over. It was hot and humid, and right out of the blue, the summer camp director told all the kids to line up for a race. There were about 200 kids, girls and boys. We raced, and to everyone's amazement, a skinny girl named Patty Ingram won the race. Her mom was actually a math teacher at the grade school I was attending across the street. A few years later, I met up with Patty in high school. I was a junior at the time on the track team, and she was a freshman trying out for the ladies soccer team. I said, Patty, what the heck are you doing over there? Get your feet over here right now on the track. And that was the end of the conversation. You know, sometimes you have to talk some sense into these kids, especially when you see potential early. This brings me to several foreign athletes who have really stood out this season in the NCAA. I won't save the best for last because they are all exceptionally good. We had Julien Alfred of St. Lucia, who won the NCAA championship in both the 100 and 200. She also led the University of Texas Longhorns to victory in the 4x100 alongside Rhasidat Adeleke, Izan Abba, and Kivana Davis. This young group now holds the world-leading time of 41:55. To put that into perspective with our own women's 4x100 team from last year's World Championships, our ladies clocked in at 41:14, which is only about a third of a meter difference. This goes to show how fast the Longhorns are. Now, I know someone in the comment section is going to ask me, well, what happened to Kennedy Simon? You may remember her as the athlete who had the world-leading indoor time in the 600 meters. Well, let me just say this. Ms. Simon's average in the 400 meters was 51:22 last season. And this season, it was a 51:25, so barely any change. The difference is, this year, more women in the NCAA were hungry, and don't be surprised if that becomes the norm moving forward, as I mentioned in the Winter is Here video. But it does not stop there with Alfred in the 1 and 200. The Longhorns literally dominated the 200 meters with Kivana Davis finishing with an incredible time of 22:02, and Lene Thomas finishing with a time of 22:36. Both ladies with those times qualified for nationals, which tells me the 200 is really going to be stacked. Kivana Davis's name also showed up in the 100, running a 10:98. That's a really sick time. And Izan Abba with a 11:07. Can't make this stuff up. Freshman Kayla Jackson is also on this list, finished 4th place, and keep an eye out on that lady. Just a freshman. David Kloss, a subscriber, called her out very early this season, so credit to you, David. David also called out Britton Wilson pretty early as well. But before I go all over the place, let me get back to Alfred because I'm not done. She has the 3rd fastest time this year of 10:76 in the 100 meters, but she also has the number 1 fastest time in the 200 meters of 21:91. That's crazy. Do I think she's going to double at Worlds? Well, with a speed like that, why not? Millions of people will be watching her, and that will put St. Lucia on the map. Most people in the U.S., and I kid you not, can't name all 50 states, so I do not expect them to know where St. Lucia is. Just right up the coast of South America, above Venezuela. So there you go for the geography lesson. And this is probably the most multiculturally diverse team that I have seen next to Arkansas that is fast, because Rhasidat Adeleke of Ireland was also in the 4x100 relay. She also won the 400-meter NCAA championship, beating my favorite star, Britton Wilson. Adeleke really turned on those Jets this season. More than half of her times were under sub 50. Prior year, she averaged a 51:45. She literally knocked off more than a meter and a half compared to Kennedy Simon, who went flat this season. I would be curious to know what the deal is since both ladies are on the same team. Pretty interesting. My guess is that you have some athletes that basically go flat and some just randomly have a beast out year. Example, Talifa Diggs. Hot ticket last season, but she was flat this season. Averaged 51 flat in both seasons. And neither Diggs or Simon placed top 3 in the NCAA championships this time around. Still my favorite athletes on this channel, but it is what it is. If we look at the table on the 400 meters, obviously Adeleke is on top at number 1. But look at how incredibly stacked Arkansas was against last year's champion Talifa Diggs. And still keep in mind that Diggs and Simon are still pretty excellent high caliber runners. Well, Ms. Doubler herself, Britton Wilson, finished second with a time of 49.64. Nikisha Price at 50.23, Rosie Efong at 50.77. So in conclusion to all of this madness, Texas took everyone's lunch money. More than half the runners in the 100 meters this year ran a sub-11 compared to last year. And in the 200 meters, almost all the ladies but one ran a sub-22.50 versus just half last year. And in the 400 meters, we see similar performance at the 51.15 cutoff. Now going back to the talented Patty Ingram story at the beginning of the segment, well, after I invited her over to the track, she told me her mom told her to go back and play soccer. So she went back to the soccer team. But she suffered a severe injury in the middle of the season and was never the same type of athlete going into next season. I was pissed, and every time I saw this girl in the hallway, I was just nodding my head. Let's talk about this poll before we go straight to our comment segment. I asked you guys, if college NIL deals were available during your high school years, would you have taken high school sports a little more seriously? An amazing 65% of you ladies and gentlemen said yes, and the other 35% of you guys said no. And I am curious why some of you said no. And it is now time for comment stream segments. Let us start with Robert. He says, Caitlin Tuohy's training and preparation for the July 2023 U.S. Nationals 5,000 meter run began in December 2022. I also asked you guys in the video, who else broke the barrier this season? Track for All said, as far as consistent and great runners, wouldn't Faith Kipyegon be the perfect example of that with cross country, 10K, 35.55, 1,500 meters, world record, 3:49.11, and 5,000 meters world record at 14:05.20. Track for All, I definitely super duper agree. Also, in regards to this topic, Sandra Roberts mentioned, as of yesterday, Marie Jose Talu is world lead 10.75 and dangerous this year. That is correct, Sandra, and Talu just seemed to get faster with age, so gotta put her on the list along with Paulino, who is also having her best year ever so far. Now, my videos are generally more biased towards U.S. athletes than also a few Europeans here and there, so I was intentional and want you guys to list others, so thank you both Track for All and Sandra for doing so. And FBI pointed out a correction. Actually, Richardson did lose one overseas event. It was in Botswana against Kayla White. Yes, that was the 200 meters where they both ran about a 22.50, if I recall. Richardson is still undefeated in her 100 meter races this season. Dread Not Fear mentioned Parker Velby is well conditioned to run in the heat and high humidity. Velby training in Florida where there is high humidity helped her to win the NCAA title in Austin, Texas. Velby got stronger as the 5,000 meter race progressed and ran faster. The other competitors seemed to struggle and were not able to pick up their pace. Shouldn't runners be able to run in all conditions? That is an excellent point. Jack Bell says, thanks, Jacob, for all the good info there. I think Tuohy should have focused on the 5,000. Her kick there is amazing. All the previous races and all the prelims, trying to double was just too much. And last but not least is Jonathan Hurd. He said Richardson is beautiful without all the makeup, crazy hair, and flamboyant outfits. With her braided black hair pulled back with a few strands hanging in front of her face, she's smoking, by far her best look, less distraction, not to mention less wind drag. I have to agree with Jonathan. I like this version of Richardson a lot. And in terms of her training, folks are saying that she is really taking it seriously. So there you go. If you guys like this video, feel free to share it on Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever social media you use. Text your friends and family and everyone on the planet. Have a great day. So if you liked this video, then check out the videos right above or visit our short clip playlist. Have a great day.